Hey, it's Doug from the Rise Above Gym channel, and I have one simple trick that'll help you increase your throwing power when you're doing your medicine ball exercises. Let's check it out. This simple trick came out of necessity because I was training a lot of water polo players, and as you may know, water polo players do not have a ground connection in their athletic games, so they have to egg beater and use their leg strength to propel the ball or block a shot or get up out of the water. Now, without the ground force that we have in, let's say, pitching or football or soccer or even basketball where we're jumping, we have to find ways to increase their power without using the ground necessarily. So I started doing all their medicine ball work in a kneeling position. Kneeling takes the legs out of the equation, and they have to use their core just a little bit more to generate power from, let's say, the mid-body upward. So we don't have that ground force through the mid-body and producing the force. So it turned out that I do this with a lot of athletes. So I took that beyond water polo and use it for most of my athletes, because that way they're not gaming it too much with the legs. Yes, we do standing exercises with the medicine ball as well to incorporate the legs down the road, but generally in the beginning I have a lot of them start with the kneeling and then learn to produce power with stability in their core, and then we can take it to the standing versions of what we're going to do. So I'll just show you some exercises we do, very, very simple. I'm going to get a mat for my tender knees so I don't hurt them. The basic one that we do first is a chest pass. So I just tell them, have you ever played basketball? We're in a chest pass. So we're going to hold the ball, hands on either side, and we're going to try to throw evenly. With all these exercises, what we're trying not to do is fall forward, or even today I don't have someone throwing it back to me. I'm going to use the wall. But usually we have someone throw it because I want them to catch and stabilize as well. But we want to make sure we're evenly throwing, stable in the core, and we're not falling forward. So I'm tightening my glutes, tucking my tailbone underneath me, and pass the ball, pass. And then I always tell my athletes, you can throw with as much power as you want as long as you're in control. So if you're trying to throw with too much power and you're not in control and you're not stable, we have to back off on the power or the weight or even the distance that we're throwing. The second exercise we're going to do is a side-to-side throw. So this is a really good rotational low throw. If you've ever played tennis, this is very similar to ground strokes and things like that. And also the side is good because one side may be a little more coordinated or powerful than the other. I use this a lot with my tennis athletes now, just to help them learn to rotate better and get a little more power. And I notice like one side generally is a little bit more fluid, obviously the side that they're doing their forehand on more than their backhand side, but that's why we like to train it. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring it towards the belt line. We're going to rotate without turning the hips too much. We can turn the hips slightly, but we want to keep the hips moderately still, and we're going to rotate through the torso and then throw. So I'm going to be here, I'm going to rotate, throw, and get that little bit of rotation. Next, we can turn our rotation completely lateral. So I'm doing this lateral throw. Sometimes they call it shovel throw, because we're going to be completely on our side. This allows for more rotation, and we're going to fling it through, and we do both sides. So if I have someone throwing the ball, I throw it low across the belt line and then throw it back. Now this one, you're going to get a lot of lateral transfer, so you got to dig in with your core to make sure you're not toppling sideways. So we don't want to throw and follow the ball that way, because we're leaking power. So we're going to be here, I'm going to rotate, throw. That wasn't the best one. There we go, a little more in front of me so I catch it again. Throw, and throw. And then of course I would do the other side. This next one is a shotput throw or a shot throw. It's very good for athletes like football players that need to press forward, like let's say they're blocking or they're pushing, even grapplers that need some things right in front of them. So we're going to keep the ball in this position right near the chest, and we're basically going to push out. So it's like a dramatic or dynamic chest press. So I'm going to get the ball and I'm going to tuck it in right on the side here. I'm going to use my lefty, which is not as coordinated, and I'm going to support with my opposite hand, and I'm just going to push. As you can see, that was not great. But here, push, push, What I'm not doing is throwing the ball overhand. I'm pushing through and keeping the opposite side stable. So I'm not falling through either. So here, tight, pushing through, keeping my shoulder down and driving through. This next one is an overhead throw. So it's very similar to a soccer throw-in where we bring the ball overhead and throw it through. This one is very challenging because you do not have your legs. So one, you can get like a staggered stance and be very supportive. And also when you throw, obviously the momentum is going to carry you very much forward in this really long lever arm here. So it's going to want to pull you forward. So you got to kind of keep your core embraced. I'm pretty close to the wall and normally back up, but for the sake of the video, I can't get too far back. But what I'm going to do is be here and I'm going to throw through. And I'm trying not to fall. After I throw, I brace a little bit, recatch, and throw through. I'm using my glutes a lot for stability, a little bit within my feet just to plant into the ground, but I'm not using my legs necessarily to throw, just to stabilize. So yeah, you want to throw and power through your core, and then stability in the follow through. Lastly, we're going to do the opposite of what we just did, behind the head throw. Again, I'm a little bit close to the wall. Normally what we do here, and if you've ever seen like the World's Strongest Man where they do the keg toss, this is very similar, except it's throwing vertically. We're going to get to the head and throw more horizontally. So this one will have a little bit of a dip. I don't want to rock back all the way and try to generate too much momentum. A little dip's okay, and I want to extend the opposite way through my core. Where the other one was flexion, this is extension. So imagine if you're jumping, or if you're an athlete like a diver or anything, even a water polo player like I mentioned before, they have to get up out of the water and they actually have to extend a lot more to throw because they don't have their legs like a pitcher or a quarterback would. They have to extend their torso to generate a little bit of power to throw. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to generate power through my core. When I get by my head, I'm going to hopefully launch it completely horizontal back. I'm not popping it up. I'm not going to throw very hard because I'm very close to the wall, and when my athletes do it, I want them to, throw crisply and firmly without falling over. But what I'm going to do here, and I'm going to throw and then back, and then I catch it, and then, obviously go again and throw and keep stability. So there you have it. The trick that I use, the kneeling trick, to help increase power, especially for sports that don't have a lot of leg involved with it, but they need to generate a lot of power. But like I said, I also found it useful for athletes that are beginning for pretty much all sports across the board. And it takes the power out of it. So let's say, some athlete, passing side by side and standing, they might be throwing pretty firmly, and I can, hurt my hands throwing with them. So if I kind of take the legs out of it, they throw a little bit less firmly, and I'm able to throw with them. Just a thought. Do both. You can start with the non-leg version like we did today, and then work up to your leg-assisted versions. So if you like the video, please like it down below. Also consider subscribing as I put a new video out every week. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.